Hi everyone, today I thought I would show you what I keep in my travel/condensed first aid kit. This kit is fairly basic and really is just meant to deal with minor cuts and scrapes at a show or any other thing where you may be traveling to. It's not a really extensive kit with a lot of products in it. It's mostly, again, just for minor boo-boos and other minor issues. So if you're interested in what you should keep in your basic or trailer first aid kit, then keep on watching. So this is the container that I use. It's fairly small, but there is a lot of stuff in there. You can use any size container or bag that you wish to use. It's all fairly subjective and what you need and what your purpose is. I just find with one horse, this is a perfect size for her, and for me, it's just really convenient and it gets the job done. You can see the container is clearly labeled first aid kit. This is really important to add to your kit or bag so that if you need to send someone to go find it, it's clearly labeled and they can find it without much effort, because in case of an emergency, you don't want to be wasting any time. On the outside of the kit, I also have my vet's phone number, and this is important to have, obviously, if you need to call your vet and you don't have the number saved in your phone or somebody else needs to call for you, it's right on the box. I also have the regular readings for temperature, pulse, and respiration. These again are good to have when you are calling the vet so you can let them know if your horse's levels are above or below normal. It's just good information to have, unless obviously, if you know it by heart, good for you. I don't have that good of a memory, so I like to keep it on the box itself. So now, let's get into it. So as you can see, I have a fairly small, compact container. The size of the container, or whether you use a box or a bag, is really up to you. It's really all personal preference. I just find this size container works best for me. But again, it's all fairly subjective and you can use whatever receptacle that you want. So let's open her up. So here's what it looks like on the inside. It is fairly disorganized, but it has everything I need. So to start out, I have just a roll of duct tape. Duct tape is really good to have for when you're packing a hoof or just general use. It's just always good to have a roll of duct tape because, as you know, duct tape fixes everything. Up next, I just have 2 rolls of athletic tape. One, I believe, is more of just a tape. This is more of a gauze tape. I like to use these for affixing any sort of absorbent material to, most of the time, a leg, but really any part of the horse they work great for. Both of these came from the dollar store. Then we just have the quintessential vet wrap. Vet wrap clearly is a necessity in every first aid kit, along with, not exactly a necessity, but I find that bandage scissors often make cutting the wrap a lot easier. I believe you can rip it, but I just prefer a clean line. Obviously, vet wrap comes in all sorts of fun colors, and I just happen to have purple because we had a purple phase with Monarch, so any brand or color is fine as long as it's veterinary grade. So these 2 are another must-have in my opinion. Then I just have a basic hoof pick. This is an Oster or Oster, I'm not really sure how it's pronounced. This is really good to have if you need to do a lameness exam, because obviously you can't really do an effective lameness exam if your horse's feet are full of mud or manure and rocks. So it's just really good to clean out your horse's hoof before you do that. Also important to clean out your horse's hoof before you pack it or soak it or anything like that. Another 2 items that I believe that every first aid kit should have: a thermometer, whether it be traditional or digital, and a small tub of Vaseline or petroleum jelly. I got the petroleum jelly from the dollar store. I believe the thermometer I just got from Menards or some other place where they had it in the health and beauty section. I really prefer a digital thermometer as it's a lot quicker than the traditional thermometers. If you do have a traditional thermometer, you're going to want to have a string and clip attached to it because it'll take a lot longer to get a reading. And if you just stick the thermometer in and walk away, there's a chance that it could get lost inside the horse. So it's always good to make sure that it doesn't get sucked in, because as my professor once told me, if you lose a thermometer, you better go in and get it. So nobody wants that. The petroleum jelly is really important to have to lubricate the thermometer, just to make everything a lot easier and more comfortable for your horse. So again, 2 more essential items in my opinion for a first aid kit. Next, I just have a Ziploc bag full of a few pairs of latex gloves for using when you're cleaning out wounds, or if you don't want to get iodine or ointments or betadine all over your hands because it will stain. So again, just another essential to have to keep everything sanitary and your own hands clean. When talking about keeping wounds bacteria free and keeping your hands clean, I like to have a multitude of hand sanitation mechanisms. If you don't have access to soap and water, I would wash the dirt off your hands with just water and then disinfect your hands with any of these. All of these came from the dollar store once again. And it's just really important that your hands are clean when you're dealing with an open wound because you don't want to introduce any bacteria that could cause an infection. Here I just have a small container of cotton swabs that also came from the dollar store. I like to use these to apply ointments or salves, typically around the eyes. They're also good for just applying to minor cuts and scrapes, again, if you don't want to get your hands dirty or you need a more precise application. Also have a few packs of these alcohol swabs. I like to use these to clean up around a wound before I add any ointments or creams to them. They are fairly small. They come in this little size. I would not use these around the eyes or near the nose, as obviously they're alcohol wipes and the scent is very strong and can irritate your horse's respiratory tract and eyes. But I think again these are quite essential to a first aid kit. Then I just have 2 basic microfiber washcloths. These have 1,000,001 uses to clean up around wounds, dry off a horse's leg before you wrap it. There's just a lot of things you could use them for. They're washcloths, kind of, you know how to use a washcloth. First thing I have in my round of absorbent products are actually pads. I like to use these for wrapping around legs or other weirdly shaped areas. They're also obviously extremely absorbent and good for a heavily bleeding wound. Obviously, I don't put these on and leave them on. I like to use these to temporarily stop the bleeding before I get obviously a better, more sanitary wrap after I clean it up and everything. Again, along the lines of temporary bandaging, I have some large Band-Aids. I like to use these again just to temporarily slap on a wound if I need to keep it fairly clean for a moment, whether it be an hour or 2. Obviously, you don't want to leave these on for very long as they may cause irritation and they could just fall off since you're putting a sticker on hair. But these again are temporary solutions to just closing up a wound before you can get a better bandage on it. Here I have a multitude of all-purpose sponges, gauze pads, gauze sponges. If your gauze comes in packaging, it is sterile. That means you can use it on a fresh wound, an open wound, and it will not introduce any bacteria into the wound. However, we have such a thing as non-sterile gauze, which is recommended to be used on closed wounds as it is not sterile, clearly. It is not wrapped in anything other than the Ziploc bag I put it in. That's just an important distinction to know, that you have sterile gauze pads, non-sterile gauze pads. I thought I'd run through everything real quick once again. We have some latex gloves, vet wrap, bandage scissors, sterile gauze pads, sterile gauze sponges, some large Band-Aids, non-sterile gauze, a hoof pick, cotton swabs, alcohol swabs, tissues, some petroleum jelly, a thermometer, hand sanitizer, pads, hand wipes, a washcloth, some duct tape, and some rolls of athletic or gauze tape. This is just what I keep in my first aid kit and what I would recommend to many people keeping in their first aid kit, but obviously it's your first aid kit. You can have whatever you want in it. I think there's just a few key items such as a thermometer and petroleum jelly, maybe a few gauze pads, a hoof pick, and some vet wrap. Those are what I would consider fairly essential to every first aid kit, no matter what else you have in it. This is what I keep in my first aid kit, and this is again a more condensed first aid kit. I do have a larger kit at the barn that if you are interested, I could show you what I keep in that. I keep a lot more products in there that are for more specific purposes. This is more of just a general cuts and scrapes kind of kit. So that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And if you have anything else that you think is essential to a basic first aid kit, then let me know in the comments down below. I'm always looking to add and improve my first aid kit. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I'll see you next time.